Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 17 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show. We're meeting with Bob Johnston, the CEO of The Melting Pot. Founded in 1975, Melting Pot has offered a unique fondue dining experience for more than 45 years. And as a premier fondue restaurant franchise, Melting Pot has 94 restaurants in 31 U.S. states and Canada. We're going to talk to Bob about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 17 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show. We're meeting with Bob Johnston, the CEO of The Melting Pot. Founded in 1975, Melting Pot has offered a unique fondue dining experience for more than 45 years, and as the premier fondue restaurant franchise, Melting Pot has 94 restaurants in 31 U.S. states and Canada. Hi, Bob. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Marty. Thanks for having us.
Oh, this is my pleasure, Bob. I'm really been excited to interview you. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
Tampa, Florida. That's where our restaurant support center is located.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's great. And, you know, when it's challenging to ask about the history of the Melting Pot, Bob, because 45 years is a lot to talk about. But, you know, maybe you could talk a little bit about the highlights. Your story is interesting because you were there in the beginning, weren't you?
Yeah, well, maybe not day one. The short version of, as you pointed out, pretty long story.
Yeah.
For the brand is that it was started by two friends in outside of Orlando, a little town called Maitland. And my brother Mark, who's a few years older than me, worked for them as a college student, waiting tables.
Right.
And he loved the concept. And after graduation, he and another brother, Mike, became a franchisee of the Melting Pot, the very first, in fact. And they opened a second one in Tampa. By that time, I had gotten involved with my brothers, Mike and Mark, and in 1985, we bought the concept from the founders, and kind of the rest is history. That's
amazing. How do you describe the concept, Bob? I mean, when you're meeting with, let's say, a prospective franchisee, the brand is pretty well known in the United States, but when you're meeting with, let's say, that aspiring entrepreneur and you're describing the Melting Pot, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so the way I like to put it is the Melting Pot is as much about what's going on around that fondue pot at the table as it is what's in that fondue pot. So in other words, Marty, that's to say that it's about an experience and it's about connections with people that you love or you care about or you want to get to know better. You definitely wouldn't want to pick the Melting Pot to go to dinner with somebody you don't like. Because it's an opportunity to connect with people and escape. And we even say that some of our guests they choose us because they want to pursue some dreams and create memories.
It's fun for you, isn't it, Bob? I mean, as you said, when I think of the Melting Pot, I mean, it's an experience. It's experience with your family. It's an experience with friends, and it's interesting because we've had a lot of food concepts on the show over 17 years. Yours is different because when I think of a lot of the food concepts, I think of the ovens in the back and the deep fryers and things like that, but with your situation it's different because the guests are actually cooking the food, aren't they? Yeah, and of course, not only is that great from the standpoint of a business concept to not have the requirement for highly skilled chefs in the heart of the house. Right. But it's also the key to the success of the experience for the guests. I mean, fondue wouldn't be any fun if somebody did it for you. That's what it's about. I guess somebody, not us, coined the phrase "eatertainment," and that's kind of what it is. It's food. It's a culinary experience for sure. But it's also an immersive experience that the guest gets to participate in. And for somebody who doesn't understand fondue or understand the Melting Pot, I guess the closest comparison I could draw, and it's hard to draw comparisons. Yeah. The Melting Pot is so unique, which is a business strength of ours, the uniqueness of the concept. But the closest concept to us might be like a Japanese steakhouse. Right? Yes. Hibachi. The only difference is we don't make you sit with people you didn't come with and you may not like. True. That's true. I love that. I love that analogy, Bob. That's fantastic. So, when thinking of technology, I mean, because you were there, for such a long time now. I mean, technology has probably been a very big part. I mean, the Melting Pot, the model today is much different than it was, 45 years ago. But how does technology play a role in the business today, Bob? Sure. Well, from a culinary perspective, there haven't been tremendous changes. I mean, what we do is what we did in 1975 when the concept first opened. A fondue pot at the center of the table. One technological difference is we used to have hot plates that sat on the table. That changed to hot plates that were built into the table, and now we're actually using induction technology. So there's not a hot burner or element, but rather an induction magnet that's built into the table that generates really turns the fondue pot into the heating element. Right. Lower energy consumption, lower temperature, more responsive. So from a food perspective, that's an example of some technological advancements. But I think for the brand, when you think about what we do for our franchisees to support them, and it's a lot. I mean, I would pit us against any other franchise organization and say that our commitment to support
and what we do for our franchisees is best in class, for sure. But some of the examples of that are, our technology platform for analyzing what markets the brand should be represented in, and within that market, what's the sales forecast for one prospective location versus another. That's one example. Another example of technology is, everything we do is tracked and stored in a data warehouse, which gives our franchise operators the power of a lot of information to make better, quicker, better, more powerful business decisions. And everything we do it revolves around the concept of making our franchisees more successful. When they're more successful, then we become successful. So that's our focus.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, Bob. And, I'm thinking of social media too. I imagine, it's a wonderful opportunity, with guests, when they're in a melting pot, to of course take photo opportunities and post that on social media as well. I imagine that's very popular, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to look very far to find images on the internet of people enjoying themselves at a melting pot. And yes, the concept lends itself to social media. It's, I guess the expression is, it's very Instagrammable. And now more than ever, because we literally last week launched our Exceptional Occasions menu innovation, which is all about taking that amazing guest experience, whether they're celebrating a birthday or anniversary or graduation, or maybe nothing at all, just a night out. And with taking that and making it even a little bit more special with, chocolate fondue served to the table with kind of a drape, if you will, of smoke that comes out of the fondue pot by dry ice that's in the fondue pot to create this really dramatic effect, or chocolate fondue desserts with it's almost like a mini Roman candle in it. It's really eye-popping and fun. And, listen, there's a lot of restaurants you can eat at, and I'm taking nothing away from any of them. We have many worthy competitors, and we never disrespect our competitors. But what makes us unique is everything that I've been talking about. And from a business opportunity standpoint, what would you rather be? Another burger joint or a steak joint, or do you want to be part of the brand that really is? We're not a category leader. We are the category. There's no other fondue brand in the country or the world. In fact, we're blessed to be able to say that, and we don't say that with out of arrogance. We feel fortunate. We've worked for it. But we also feel very fortunate to have a customer base that has supported us so well over all these years.
I guess this is what's kept you there too such a long time, Bob. Is it sounds to me like, there is a culture there at Melting Pot. I always wonder, one of the questions I was thinking about over the last day, I said, because I knew I was going to get to interview you, is if you started at such a young age. If I asked you going back in time that I said to you, okay, you're going to be the CEO of this company one day, what would you have said to me?
It wasn't my plan. I was going to be very honest with you. But there's something here, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. As a youth, I wanted to be a photojournalist. I wanted to be a photographer, and I had no ambition of being in the restaurant business. And it was the opportunity that my brothers gave me that allowed me to step into a customer service experience. And that's where I got switched on. I'm like, I could take some great pictures, but they're going to be forgotten or collect dust on a shelf somewhere. We get to put on a party every night for our guests. And you said earlier, it sounds like you're having fun. We are. It's like working at a theme park, but it's a restaurant. It's really, it is fun. And you're also correct. Culture is a major part of our story. Not for the first 10 years. We struggled greatly until we created a clarity about our mission for the brand and our vision for what we wanted to be. and also our governing principles, our guiding principles, better said, the foundation of all the decisions that needed to be made. And when we got clarity on that, great things happened. First 10 years was a real slug through the mud. But since then, in 1995 to today, it's been a wonderful success story.
Yeah, you probably get this question all the time, Bob. But I mean, so because you've been going into melting pots for decades, but do you have a favorite to this day? I mean, that if you and I were to go in right now and you would make a recommendation to me, or what would you order?
Yeah, I say this because I have to say, but it's also the truth. I love everything. But what is my newest favorite is our grill style of cooking. So I've been talking about the fondue pot, but a number of years ago, we actually created a new innovation of having a grill on the table. And this has really opened up our ability to attract a male audience. Typically, female audience is still a dominant decision maker in dining out, right? And with the addition of the grill, what we're creating is a lot of fans amongst the male audience who are now driving the dining decisions. So it's been wonderful from a marketing perspective to open that opportunity.
That's great. What's been, very tough question, Bob, but I mean, what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since being part of the melting pot? Again, with the consideration you probably have 10,000 stories, but does anything stand out over all of that time that you you say to yourself, wow? Well,
this is always been the case for me, and so it's not new. And I believe I will always feel this way. We take our jobs very seriously. We don't take ourselves so seriously. We like to have fun. Fondue is fun. But we take our responsibility to help franchisees succeed very seriously because we know that this is a big deal for them. And in most cases, they're risking significantly to step into business. And we want to be there to support that journey. And we get a lot of pleasure out of helping people achieve their dream of business ownership.
That's great. You're talking about franchisees, Bob. What's important to you, or what's important to Melting Pot when taking on a new franchisee? I mean, are there any particular types of characteristics or traits that you feel are extremely important to be successful as a franchisee?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're very selective. Most people are not approved. Most people who inquire, the vast majority are not approved. What we're looking for is leadership, first and foremost, right? Somebody who attracts quality people, because we win in business when we have the right people. So that's first and foremost. Drive and ambition, but everybody's looking for that, of course. You have to have a service gene, so to speak. You have to be wired to put this party on every night. And then, very importantly, we're looking for people who they're not entrepreneurs in every sense of the word. What I mean by that is, they want to own their own business. They want to control their destiny. Right? And we seek individuals for whom that's important. However, a true entrepreneur doesn't want to be a part of anybody's system, anybody else's system. They don't want to follow anybody else's rules. So we're looking for this hybrid entrepreneur who's not risk adverse, but also who, what they want is somebody to help them flatten out the learning curve and make them more successful.
That's wonderful. And once you do decide, you like them, Bob, and they like you, and they do, they are approved as a franchisee, how does the training work then? I mean, do they come down to corporate headquarters?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't mind, I'll go back one step. If somebody today said, yes, I want to learn more about this.
Right.
You know, obviously they would go to our website like every other franchisor,
Sure.
and they would indicate an interest. And from that, you're going to get a phone call from Colin Benyo, who's worked with us fresh out of college, and he came to franchise development out of melting pot restaurant operations. So this guy knows every aspect of owning a melting pot. So he's a great asset for somebody who's interested in learning more about this. We'll ask you for a little bit of information, but not too much. You know, we just want to get to know you a little bit. Set up a phone call, and if it seems like this is something that both of us are interested in, you might get invited to a discovery day, which is not salesy at all. It's just a chance for you to come to Tampa, meet the team of 50 or more people in this building who are here to support you. And really, you know, we don't sell franchises. You know, we offer an opportunity and we match it. We look for people who are well suited for it. And if it feels good, and it feels right, and you meet the qualifications, then you'll be extended an offer for a franchise in a specific territory. All of that process, generally is about a 90-day process from start to finish.
Okay. That's great.
Sometimes it takes longer. If the individual's not ready, we're willing to be patient because we want the right people, we don't want growth for growth's sake. We want the right strategic partners with our franchisees.
Right.
Now, to answer your question, which is what happens then when we press go, Brad Stiles is our director of training, and he's got a very talented team around him, and their job is to help you, immerse you not only in the culture, but also the business of our business. And that training process takes place in operating restaurants as well as in a more of a classroom environment. And then as we get closer to opening day, we have a team of people that are experienced, folks from operations around the country from various locations will descend upon the store and help you with caring for your team and getting them ready for success. And then that's just the beginning of the support. Right now, while I'm sitting here speaking to you in one of our conference rooms is the entire team of franchise business consultants. These are experienced restaurateurs, multi-unit restaurateurs who are here, and they work in various geography areas of the country, and they're here today meeting, focusing on how they can provide the highest level of support for franchisees. So you get your own franchise business consultant that works with you.
That's great. You've not to date you, but you've been doing this such a long time now, Bob. So you have, so much experience. So when I have someone on the show, someone like yourself, then I have to ask you, because I just recently learned, when I originally got involved in, studying franchising around 1999, I think they said there was like 1,200 concepts, and I recently heard there was like 4,000 different systems to choose from today. So there's so much out there, and I think one of the things that we've learned is it could be a little bit overwhelming for someone who wants to get into franchising. So, from all of your experience, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
It's a great question, and I think the decision, more than anything, should be made based upon the people you're going to be partnered with, you're going to be doing business with as the franchisor. There needs to be a real relationship and not just strictly a business relationship there. And I think that's been a key to our success. The other thing I tell every candidate that comes here on Discovery Day or right before they sign their franchise agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And Colin, our franchise development fellow, he hates it when I say this, but it's
Mm-hmm.
important. It needs to be said. If there is a voice in the back of your head that says, you know what, maybe this isn't the right move, don't
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Right.
Don't do it.
Right.
Because we provide a lot of support, but the one thing we can't provide that only you can provide as a franchisee is stick-to-itiveness. You know,
right.
business is business, and
Mm-hmm.
there will be days that you question yourself, did I make the right move?
Right.
And your level of commitment is the thing that gets you through those days. So if there's a voice in the back of your head that's saying, maybe you're not ready for this, that means you're not ready.
Right. That's well said. Yeah, I think that's great advice, Bob. So I can ask you the last question. I mean, as the CEO of Melting Pot, I mean, if you could look into a crystal ball, Bob, whether that crystal ball is 1 year or 3 years or 5 years down the road, where do you see the Melting Pot?
So, I mean, obviously we share what we call our vision house with our franchisees. We're a very transparent organization because we know that our success is going to come through being partnered with our franchisees. And that plan is a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the time frame that we tend to think in. But where is the Melting Pot going? We are in a growth mode. We came through COVID, and we haven't talked about this at all, but performed amazingly well because we were doing exactly what people were clamoring for, which is this opportunity to experience connections with people that you care about. So, we took off like a rocket and continue to perform very, very strongly. That is what's happening now. We're switching into a growth mode again. Mm-hmm. The direction our team, our leaders gave everybody here at Restaurant Support Center on March the 15th of 2020 is we have one job: serve the franchisees, help them through, because nobody knew what things were going to look like. And we did an exceptional job of that, and the franchisees did an exceptional job of it as well. And then we've come out the other side of that in a really good position. Now it's time to add to that focus of helping franchisees succeed, bring more people to the brand, bring in new franchisees who are excited about what we're doing and they want to be a part of it. So that's what's going on now. What does that look like? Over the course of the next 5 years, we anticipate being at about 127 units with the Melting Pot. That's
great. And that, I know you're just a couple units shy. I know you're not obsessed with the numbers because you are very selective with your franchisees, but I imagine that 100 unit is probably, I'm sure it's a special number to you, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to say, I guess so. I mean, you're right. We're not fixated on that.
Right, the numbers. Right.
We grow one franchisee, one market at a time. So we're just trying to make the next right move, and we'll get there. And the growth that I'm speaking to you about is not aggressive, I think, by anybody's definition.
Oh, sure.
It's reasonable, it's doable, and we can do it with excellence and be proud of it.
That's great. Do a lot of customers, I mean, does this happen, Bob, but where a lot of customers are in there and they say, oh, my God, this is such a fun place. I would love to own one of these. I mean, does that happen frequently? I mean,
it does. I could tell you many cases of where that's happened, or some of our most successful franchisees in the system today started either as a guest or as a server or a team member. At a Melting Pot, and that put them on a path to business ownership with us. Yeah. So it does happen quite a bit, and most of our inquiries, maybe after someone hears this and who hasn't been to the Melting Pot, they might inquire as a result of hearing this interview. But most of the time, our inquiries come because people have experienced the brand and they want to be a part of it.
That's fantastic. What's the best way, Bob, for our listeners to get more information on Meltpot? Are there any websites or numbers you want to kind of like direct them to?
Absolutely. Meltingpot.com is our consumer-facing website. You can do everything from see the menus, the locations, make a reservation there. And on that site also you can navigate to franchise information. If you're only interested in franchise information, meltingpotfranchise.com will bring you directly to that.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you, Bob, and I'd already like to invite you back over the next year or two as you continue to grow, because I think this is a wonderful and really fun opportunity.
We're having a ball, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about that today, and thank you for the invitation.
This has been my pleasure, Bob, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to be playing a clip from our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com. Or you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Joseph Berger, and Joseph is the president of You Got Maids, and Joseph said something on the show that we haven't heard, interesting enough, in 650 shows. He described franchising as an open book, but we're going to let Joseph explain why. So here we go. You were kind of like, I guess you could say you're almost like born into franchising, Joseph. I mean, you've been exposed to it, it seems like, most of your life. What do you like most about franchising?
Yeah, and you're right. I've been around franchising for a while. I like to tell people I started when I was 7. I started answering phones and folding boxes at Domino's. Started at 25 cents an hour with a free soda, as much as I could drink, and worked up from there. And what I love about it, what we do, I see where entrepreneurship, where small business ownership has helped my family. You know, my dad's from Northeast Philly, row homes. My mom wasn't much better off, and they've been able to really just turn their stars around and build a really good life for all of us. And I love working with franchisees because I get to be a part of them doing that for their family, and that's just inspiring every day.
It's inspiring what you just said, Joseph, because, you know, I know that area, you know, of Philadelphia. I get down to Philly, you know, every so often. And I think you're right. You know, it's one of the things that impresses me too, Joseph, is that, you know, a lot of people, I think they want to get into entrepreneurship, but they don't know how to, right? And I think franchising, you know, allows them that ability to become an entrepreneur, doesn't it?
Absolutely. One of the things we like to say in the process is, like, you know, imagine you have to take a really hard test, and this test determines like everything.
Right.
But, you know, if you're doing it with a franchise, it's open book.
Right.
We've already made the mistakes. We've already found the opportunities. We've laid out all the processes, and we hone it every day. I mean, all of our new idea, we still are updating. It's never going to be done. We're getting all of our great ideas from our franchisees now. But you can start off with that rather than, you know, opening your doors and like, how do I get maids? How do I get clients? Right. How do I keep them?
Right. That's terrific. I've never heard that analogy in 650 shows, Joseph, but it makes sense. You know, I like how you called franchising an open book, you know, because you're right. You know, when a lot of people do get into entrepreneurship, you know, there's a lot of things that they just don't know, you know, and they make a lot of mistakes. And, you know, sometimes some of those mistakes,
are detrimental to, their business. So, to call it an open book, I think that's really very clever.
If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Joseph Berger of You Got Maids, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com. Simply go to our franchise interviews by category page and go to our cleaning category, or you can simply go to our franchises listed alphabetically page. And lastly, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast, our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast, such a big hit. And we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.